Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you how to crochet these very easy chunky women's slippers. So these slippers can be made in a number of different sizes, and for all of the information on how to make the different sizes, please see the description box below this video. So to make your slippers, you can either use chunky yarn or you can use two balls of a thinner yarn at the same time, and that is what I did for these slippers here and also the ones that I made in the tutorial. So thank you very much for watching, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. So to begin your slippers, you want to start off by making a magic circle. So to do a magic circle, take your yarn and take your finger and wrap the yarn around your finger once. You then want to wrap the yarn back over your finger to create a cross, like that. You then want to take your crochet hook. So take your crochet hook and go underneath the first loop of the cross, and you may need to pull it up a little bit, but go underneath the first loop, and then using your crochet hook, pick up the second loop of the cross and pull it through. And you can then take your finger out, and there you have a magic circle, and we are ready to begin round one. So we are now on to round one of our slippers, and to start this round we're going to chain one, and this chain one does not count as a stitch. This just locks our magic circle into place. And now for round one we are going to do 10 double crochets into the magic circle. So 10 double crochets. So to do a double crochet, yarn over and go into the magic circle, then yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the final 2 loops on our hook. So there we have 1 double crochet. So now we need to do 9 more. So yarn over and go back into the magic circle and do a second one, and then do a third, and continue this until you have 10. So I have just finished working those 10 double crochets for round one, and now to finish off this round we are going to close up our magic circle and join. So to close up the magic circle, you want to take this end or your tail here and simply pull this nice and tight. So pull this as tight as you can, and that will close up the magic circle. And now to join, we're going to do a slip stitch into the first double crochet that we worked. So here is the first double crochet, and if you're not sure which stitch to go into, then you can count back 10, and you want to insert your hook into that stitch and then yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. So work a slip stitch. And now we are ready to move on to round 2 of our slippers. So we are now on to round 2, and to begin this round you want to chain 1, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So in round 2 we are going to do 2 double crochets into each stitch around. So into every single stitch we are going to work 2 double crochets. So we're going to start off by going down into this very first stitch here, so the stitch that our chain 1 comes out of. So yarn over and go into this stitch, so go into the very first stitch and work 1 double crochet, and then you want to yarn over and go back down into the same stitch again and work a second one. So like that. So there we have 2 double crochets both into that very first stitch, And now we're going to go into the next one. So yarn over and go into the next stitch and do 1 double crochet, and then yarn over and go back down into the same stitch for a second time and work a second one, so a second double crochet. And we're going to continue to do that all the way around. So work 2 double crochets into every single stitch. So I have just finished working that all the way around for round 2, and at the end of this round you should have 20 double crochets. So you should have 20 double crochets, and I would recommend going back and checking that you have the right number. And now what we're going to do is we're going to work a slip stitch into the first double crochet that we worked. So here is the very first double crochet, and if you're not sure which stitch to go into, then you can count back 20 and then work your slip stitch into the 20th one. So go into this stitch, so this is the first double crochet of the round, and work a slip stitch. So there we have round 2 completed, and we are ready to move on to the next round. So we are now on to round 3 of our slippers, and for the next 5 rounds we are going to do the exact same thing. So for rounds 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, so 5 rounds, we're just going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch around. So for round 3, we are going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch around. Then we're going to do the same thing for round 4, the same thing for round 5, the same thing for round 6, and the same thing for round 7. And this is going to create the toe of our slippers. So for each round, so to begin each of these 5 rounds, you want to start off by chaining 1, and this chain 1 never counts as a stitch. And we are now going to yarn over and go down into this very first stitch here and work 1 double crochet. So work a double crochet into this first stitch, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet into the next one. So do 1 double crochet into this next stitch, and do this into each and every stitch around. So we're doing 1 double crochet in each stitch, and in each round you should have 20 double crochets. So in each of those 5 rounds you should only work 20 double crochets, as we are not increasing or decreasing. So you can check with each round that you do. So I have just come to the end of round 3, and I have gone back and checked that I worked 20 double crochets in that round. And now to finish this round, we're going to go into the first double crochet that we worked here and work a slip stitch. So go into this first double crochet, yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. So there we have round 3 completed. So we have our first round of double crochet, and we need to do 4 more rounds. So we're going to chain 1, do 1 double crochet into each stitch around, and then work a slip stitch into the first double crochet that we worked 4 more times. So I'm going to move on to round 4, which is our second round. So chain 1, then go down into the first stitch and do 1 double crochet, so just as we did last round, and then do 1 double crochet into each stitch around, and do this all the way around for round 4, then round 5, round 6 and round 7. So I have just finished working those rounds. So I now have 7 rounds in total, and we have finished the toe of our shoe or our slippers. So if you want the toe to be longer, then you can just work more rounds of double crochet. So if you are doing a bigger size, you may want to add an extra row of double crochet, but it's completely up to you. Or if you don't want it to be as big as this, you can take 1 row out and just do 4 rounds of double crochet. But I am happy with the size that this one is. I have 7 rounds in total. So now we are going to move on to making the opening and the sides of our slippers. So what we're going to do is we are going to fasten off. So pull your yarn out and your hook and then cut your yarn. So I'm going to cut my yarn and make sure that you leave a tail to weave in or work over later. So cut it and pull it through. So once you have fastened off, you now need to turn your work so that the seam is in the center back. So that the seam is in the middle on the back, and lay your work flat with the front facing you. And we are now going to find the center 6 stitches. So you want to find 6 stitches which are in the middle at the front. So I would say this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I would say that these 6 stitches are in the middle on the front of my slipper. And we are going to skip these 6 stitches, and this will make the opening. So the 6 stitches that you skip, so the center 6, are going to form the opening of your slippers. And you don't have to be too precise, as it is just one big circle, but just pick out 6 stitches which are roughly in the middle of the front of your slipper. So then you want to go to the very first one of the 6. So I would say that this is the first stitch I want to skip for the opening. And then you want to go to the next stitch along. So this is the first one that I want to skip, the first one of my center 6. So I'm going to go to the next one. And into this stitch we are going to attach our yarn. So to attach your yarn, insert your crochet hook into the stitch and take your yarn. So I'm going back using the 2 balls that I was using before. Place them over the end of your crochet hook. So place the new yarn over the end of your hook and pull it through. And you can then chain 1. So I'm going to chain 1, and we have attached our new yarn onto our slippers. And now we are ready to move on to round 1 of the sides. So we are now on to round 1 of the sides of our slippers. And to begin this round, you want to yarn over and go down into this very first stitch here that we attached our new yarn into. So go down into the first stitch and work 1 double crochet. So work a double crochet into this stitch, and we are now going to work 1 double crochet into the next one, and I am working over my ends here. I'm working over my ends that I have here from where I attached my yarn onto my slipper. So there we have done 2 double crochets, and we want to do 14 in total for round 1. So round 1 of the side of our slippers is just 14 double crochets. So there we have done 2. So now I'm going to do a third one. So a third double crochet, then a 4th, then a 5th, and do this until you have 14. So there I have finished working those 14 double crochets for round 1, and you should find that you have your 6 stitches in the middle left. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches, and these are going to form the opening. So you can see we have the opening of our shoes forming. So now we are ready to move on to round 2. So we are now on to round 2 of the sides of our slippers. And for the next 6 rounds, we are just going to do rounds of 1 double crochet into each stitch. So we're going to chain 1 and turn to begin each round, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch around. So that should be 14 in total. We do not go down into the opening, we stop here and then repeat that again. chain 1 and turn and do 1 double crochet into each stitch back along, and again that should be 14, and you want to do that 6 more times. So for these shoes here, so for my purple ones, I did 7 rounds for the side, so 7 rounds in total, but you can do as many or as little as you like. It's completely up to you. So if you just wanted to do 5 or 6 rounds, that is fine, or if you wanted to do 8 or 9 or 10, depending on how big your feet are or how big you want your slippers to be, you can do more or less rounds, but I did 7 rounds for the sides in total, so I need to do 6 more rounds. So to begin each round, chain 1 and turn, and then yarn over and go down into this very first stitch here, as our chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and work 1 double crochet, and then do 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 into the next one, and do this all the way along. So I'm just coming to the end of round 2, and to finish this round, go into the very last double crochet here. Do not go into the chain 1. The chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Go into the first double crochet from the previous round, and then I would recommend going back and checking that you only worked 14 double crochets, especially in this second round. Just check that you have 14. And then we are just going to repeat that round again and again and again until you feel that your shoe is long enough. So chain 1 and turn, and do double crochets back along, and like I said, I am going to do 7 rounds, but you can do as many as you like. So I have just finished those rounds for the side of my slippers, and once your slippers are long enough, we are now going to fasten off. So pull your yarn out and your hook and cut your yarn, but when you cut your yarn, you need to make sure that you leave a pretty long tail, as we're going to use this tail or this end to sew up the back of our slippers. So I'm going to leave a nice long tail when I fasten off. And now we're going to move on to sewing up the back. So to sew up the back of your slippers, you want to begin by turning them inside out. So start off by turning your slippers inside out. And we are now going to take our end or our tail at the end here, and take a yarn needle and thread your needle with the ends, or the ends, as I use 2 balls of yarn at the same time. And then we are going to fold our end here in half. So fold the back of your slippers in half and line your stitches up nicely. And as we have an even number, we had 14 around, they should line up nicely. And then you want to go through to the opposite side with your needle. So go through to the opposite side of your shoes and pull your yarn through. So pull it all the way through. And then to sew up our shoes, we are going to use the whip stitch. So we're going to go into the next stitch here. So go into the next stitch and go all the way through to the other side and pull your yarn through. And then with the whip stitch, you always go through the same side. So you're going to come back around here to this side, the same side that we just went through. And we're going to go into the next stitch and through to the same one on the opposite side and pull your yarn through. So pull it all the way through. And then we're going to come back around to this side again. We always go through this side and go all the way through. So go through yet again, like that, and continue to do this all the way down. We go through this side and through this side and through this side and through, all the way down to sew up the back. So once you have sewn up the back and you have gone right down to the very end, you now want to turn your shoes back around. So turn them back the right way around as we turn them inside out. So like that. And now we have finished our slippers and we are ready to move on to our border. And you can see we have a nice seamless join at the end. And as we turn them inside out, we have a nice curve. So we are now on to the border of our slippers. And for the border, we are just going to do one slip stitch into each stitch around. So start off by attaching your yarn to the back of your shoes. So anywhere along the back, I'm going to go in here, go through the stitch, take your yarn, and I'm actually just going to work with one ball now and pull it through. So just as we did before. And now we're just going to do slip stitches all the way around. So go into the next stitch here and work one slip stitch. Then go into the next stitch and work a slip stitch. Then go into the next one and work a slip stitch. And we are going into the side of the stitches here, so they can be a little bit tricky to get into. And if you are really struggling, then I would recommend going down a size in crochet hook. So if you say you were using a 6mm, go down and use a 5 for the border, and that will make it easier. But just do one slip stitch into each stitch around. I have just gone all the way around, and make sure that you don't work too tightly when doing your slip stitches, otherwise the top might be too tight to get your foot in and out of. But then once you have gone all the way around, go back down into the very first stitch that you worked your slip stitch into and work another slip stitch, and then pull your yarn out and your hook and cut your yarn. So go back into the same stitch again, work another slip stitch, and then fasten off. And there we have finished our slippers, and now I will show you how to do the little row with the bow if you like. So to make the round with the little bow, so it's just a decorative round, you want to start off by turning your shoes inside out. So I have turned my slipper inside out, and then you want to attach your new yarn, so in whatever colour you like, I'm going with a cream, into either side of your shoe, and you want to have both the slippers have the bow on opposite sides, so you will want your bows to be on opposite sides, so attach your yarn on opposite sides. So for this round we actually work in between the stitches. We're not working into the stitch, we're working in between them. So you want to take the front of your shoe like this and kind of turn it inside out like that. So this is the right side here. Go into the space where you want to start your round, so where you want your bow to be, and take your new yarn, place it over your hook and pull it through. So like I said, we're going in between the stitches, and you must make sure that you leave a long tail here, or a long end, as we will use this to form one half of our bow. And then we're just going to do slip stitches all the way around, but we're working in between the stitches. So we're going to go in between the next stitches here, so in between them, and work a slip stitch. Then work a slip stitch in between the next two stitches. Then do a slip stitch in between the next two. And do this all the way around, so go in between the stitches and work slip stitch. So I have done that all the way around, and then when you get to the very end, go back down into the same space that you started off and work a last slip stitch. So I'm going to go back down into this first stitch that I started in and work a slip stitch, and then fasten off. So pull your yarn out and your hook and cut your yarn, and make sure that you leave a long tail to make your bow. And then you can turn your shoes back the right way around. So turn them back around again, and you can see that by turning your shoes inside out and kind of working in a weird way, you get this nice effect. And then we're going to take our ends from where we attached our yarn and fastened off here. So I have another one that I need to pull through. Take your end, tie a knot. So we're going to tie a little knot, and then you can do a bow. And there we have done our shoes. So I have finished making my slippers. So I went all the way around and made a bow at the end. And I did 2 slippers and made sure that my bows were on opposite sides. And then I weaved all of my ends into the inside of my slippers. So you need to make sure that you use a yarn needle and securely weave all of your ends into the inside. If you just cut them off, your shoes will come undone. So make sure that you weave them nice and securely into the inside. And we have finished. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it easy to follow. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. And I also have a Twitter account which I will link in the description box below. So I will leave a link to my Twitter in the description box below this video. So if you want to go and follow me on there, I would love to see photos of your crochet work. So if you do make these slippers, it would be lovely to see a picture of them on Twitter. And thanks again for watching. Bye!